After League, you joined Shopify as the head of revenue for retail. Like, what made you make this move from a Series B startup to an established public company?
Yeah. So I never thought I would go to a big company. I, like many of us, thought the only real company building is in startups. Like that's the real stuff. And big companies are slow and it's easy. And like, why would you want to go do that? And actually, a friend of mine, Jake Dunlop, I reached out to him just for some advice on it and gave me like a little bit of a come to Jesus talk. He was like, hey, he's like, you and me, like startup guys, we assume that that's the only thing that is out there. But going to a big company, you learn a completely different set of skills and pattern recognition and mental models. And he's like, you should think about getting that type of exposure. And it was a blend of both. Like I got to go to the biggest, most successful tech company in Canada, which was exciting, but also I got to build a new thing, like a new go-to-market motion for the point of sale product. So it was the best of both worlds. And I loved it. Like I loved my 3 years there. I learned a tremendous amount and very different things than I learned in a startup. So I strongly encourage people to think outside the box if you consider yourself a startup person.
And so you mentioned like when you joined, Shopify was rolling out this point of sales product to retail vendors and you were put in charge of selling that solution. So kind of like a startup within a big company, if you will.
Yeah.
Can you kind of talk about the point of sales product and like how you approach sales? I mean, were you competing against like Square and things in people's actual offices?
Yeah. So Square, Lightspeed, Vend. The product that you're checking out with when you're at a clothing store, for example. And so the product was fairly well established down market. There was like $70 million in revenue in this business. So it wasn't nothing, but we were really just piloting a farther up market human-led go-to-market motion on top of the self-serve motion that already existed. And so we grew the team from like 5 people to 70 and change in 18 months. Really moved the needle on the growth rate for that business, and had a blast. Like it was a really exciting opportunity, and I largely joined that team because the guy who ran it, Ian Black, I thought I could learn a lot from. He's a former senior Uber guy, super smart dude, and was clearly going to do something exciting with that business. The product was great, and it was the opportunity to like go build. So yeah, no regrets about it. I loved my time there.
What did sales actually look like? Are you selling into just like, existing Shopify customers who already have a Shopify website? Do you like knock on doors? Do you do cold calling? Like how did you sort of approach it?
Yeah, it was a lot of expanding into the current Shopify base. So we had a bunch of data to give us a likelihood that e-commerce customer had a brick and mortar location. We're using a bunch of the Google API data and other stuff to take a best guess. And that was the first 9 months. Then COVID hit, and all of a sudden every business in the country needed to have an online motion, even if they weren't already. And so the business ended up shifting from probably 80% expanding current customers with point of sale to almost 50-50 current customers expanding, to new customers wanting to get set up online, and then us saying, hey, if you're a brick and mortar, your brick and mortar is going to be closed, move the whole business over now. So you have one system of record, one platform. And then when you're ready to open up again, you're better placed to deliver an omni-channel experience to your customers and grow faster. So the motion changed a lot in COVID. We had to like rebuild all the messaging and retrain folks. That was a pretty wild time.